For over 2 centuries, tequila has taken us to places as spectacular as they are diverse. Just like the beginning of a fairy tale, this story begins hundreds of years ago, back when these lands were inhabited by native tribes who discovered the elusive secret at the heart of agave, mezcal wine. After the conquest, the Spaniards applied their knowledge of distillation techniques to the improvement of mezcal wine. No one then imagined the transcendence of this particular action. The fusion of both influences created a drink that became, with the turn of the centuries, the symbol of a country and the pride of her people, tequila. Today, tequila shows us a new trail to travel. A trail that takes us down exciting roads that travel along our singular history, culture, and traditions. A one-of-a-kind trail where our visitors can find the essence of the Mexico that lives in every drop of tequila, in every note of the mariachi, and in each and every moment spent in our...
With its great flavor and exquisite aroma, tequila is protected as an appellation of origin. This means that tequila can be produced exclusively in a specific geographical territory, which is located within the borders of Mexico. Nature and humans combine to define why tequila deserves acknowledgement as a drink with appellation of origin. Due to the fact that it can only be produced in one region of the planet. And therefore, similar drinks that may be produced in other parts of the world cannot and should not be considered tequila. White tequila,
Young or golden tequila,
aged tequila, extra aged tequila, and
ultra-aged tequila.
all of them delight equally the most demanding palates of refined taste, and perhaps less sophisticated tastes that still know how to enjoy a good drink.
The norms also establish the possibility of producing flavored tequilas. In this case, only sweeteners, colorings, and flavorings authorized by the Ministry of Health can be added.
In keeping with a long tradition, the extraction of the heart of the agave plant, also known as pineapples or piñas, is practiced today the same way it was practiced hundreds of years ago. The agave plant reproduces during the first years of its life. The offshoots of the agave are cut and grown in other growing fields within the territory protected by the appellation of origin. After a long period of 7 to 10 years, the pineapple is extracted from the soil, and from this moment, the old processes are left to history, and the present comes into play.
Tequila development process. The tequila production process takes between 7 and 9 years and begins with the planting of Tequila and Weber brew variety agave, which is the raw material used for the preparation of the beverage. To be used in the manufacture of tequila, agave must be grown within the geographical area bounded by the General Declaration of Designation of Origin and must be registered at the Tequila Regulatory Council. The average time required for the plant to reach maturity is 7 years, after which the maximum accumulation of carbohydrates in the plant is reached. Once the development is reached, the harvest, or hima, is done. Hima is the action of separating the unusable parts of the agave leaves or stalks The result of this operation is to obtain the head of the agave, formed by the stem and the basal part of the leaves or stalks. This is where the carbohydrates used for the manufacture of tequila are stored. The tool used in the agave hima is the coa. Hydrolysis. Take into consideration that the principal carbohydrate contained in agave is inulin and that this compound is not capable of being fermented by the yeast, it is necessary to conduct the hydrolysis of inulin to obtain simple sugars. This is mainly a thermal process. It is noteworthy that in addition of the hydrolysis of inulin, at this stage, many of the compounds that determine the organoleptic profile of the final product are formed. The hydrolysis is carried out in masonry ovens or autoclaves, and in both cases, steam is used at a temperature between 100 and 110 degrees Celsius. Extraction. Following hydrolysis, the sugars in the agave hearts should be separated from the fiber. This extraction is commonly performed with a combination of gear roller mills. There are still exceptional cases where the extraction of sugars is made in taonas. The extracted agave juices are sent to the fermentation vats, where yeast is added and the right temperature to start the fermentation is set. Fermentation. In this stage, the sugars present in the must are transformed by the action of yeast in ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. In this step, other compounds that contribute to the sensory characteristics of tequila are also formed. Critical factors to control at this stage are temperature, pH, and nutrients, controlling temperature and pH as well as controlling the contamination by natural means. Distillation. After the fermentation phase, musts are carried off to the process of separating the constituents of the must. The distillation is usually performed in stills and consists in two phases. The product obtained from the first cycle is commonly known as ordinary. At this stage, the undesirable components are removed, yeast solids, some secondary alcohols such as methanol, and a group of compounds known as higher alcohols and water. Ordinary obtained is subjected to a second cycle or rectification, finally getting tequila. The tequila obtained can have multiple destinations, such as packaging as white tequila, its abushment and package as young, or tequila can be sent to maturity to obtain reposado, añejo, or extra-aged tequila. Maturation. Reposado tequila should age into direct contact with the wood of oak containers for at least 2 months. For aged tequila, the aging process should last at least 1 year in direct contact with the wood of oak containers, with a maximum capacity of 600 liters. For extra añejo tequila, aging process should last at least 3 years in direct contact with the wood of oak containers, with a maximum capacity of 600 liters.
His tongue is as long as his body and reaches deep into the saguaro blooms. His pale fur gets covered in pollen, and he transfers this as he feeds, from flower to flower. He visits up to 100 blooms in one night. And the saguaro is not the only plant that these hovering freaks pollinate. Agaves. Included in this group of plants is the one that brings us tequila. The sweet nectar attracts many animals, and the bats are no different. Without these tequila bats, Mexico's signature hooch wouldn't exist.